Hey, Sully, how are you today?
Hey, what's happening, bud?
Not much. Just recovering from a big night of interdivision football last night in the West Jersey Football League.
Yeah, man, what's going on with Holy Spirit? They've passed every tough test up to this point with a huge win over Delsey Regional last night, 14-7. They kind of leaned on Reggie Jean Charles, bunch of carries, 168 yards, couple touchdowns. How do you see this team as it is now, 4 weeks into the season?
Well, I think you got to look at them as legitimately one of the top teams in South Jersey. We had them number 8 in our press elite 11, and they kind of alluded to it after the game. You know, they were 4-6 last season. They brought back a lot of veterans. People were expecting them to be improved, maybe not this improved. And people looked at the win over St. Joe as, hey, maybe a bit fluky. I think St. Joe did fumble late in the fourth quarter where they had a chance to score the winning touchdown. So they go out to Delsey, who, by the way, is probably the best 1-3 football team in the state, basically. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were still there, when the South Jersey 3 playoffs championship is decided in December. I wouldn't be surprised if Delsey was still there. They've won 4 straight. They've just played a brutal schedule so far. But, Spirit goes out to Delsey with a little bit of a chip on its shoulder, wants to prove it's for real. And like you said, after a kind of a sluggish first half where they kind of hurt themselves, they just turn around and nothing fancy at all. Kind of back to the way Holy Spirit played, in 2007 and 2012 when they were predominantly a running team with, William Washington back there and the Nigel Joneses of the world. They give the ball a lot to Reggie Jean Charles. They make some big defensive plays, and they get out of Delsey with a 14-7 win. And now you got Holy Spirit at 4-0, basically one of the top teams in. I think you got to look at them as one of the top teams in South Jersey. And you got Holy Spirit at 4-0 going to a 2-1 Pleasantville next week at 6:00 at Pleasantville. And I don't think there's anybody in South Jersey who would have said that sentence before the season started.
Yeah, you look at those teams combined 6-1. Wouldn't have thought that in first week of October.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasantville gets a big win over Pittman last night, and it really shows you, why, people who in the Cape Atlantic League who pushed to join the West Jersey Football League really made the right decision. It's created some great matchups. We had great games last night. Holy Spirit, Delsey, Pennsville, St. Joe, Cedar Creek, Camden, and you have Pleasantville able to sort of get its footing against programs, that are in a similar state. Now Pleasantville, above 500 for the first time in 13 years. Coach Chris Sacco, young guy over there from Hamilton, doing a tremendous job with the Greyhounds.
Yeah, talk about that, Mike. We always talk about the great teams in print and on radio, but there's so many different teams out there at so many different stages of their development, and it's great to see a team like Pleasantville that struggled for so long really get some confidence going. And we talked about this earlier in the show. You see a dozen kids from the Jokers out there, the youth program on the sidelines. They're seeing these high school kids have success, and that can go a long way to really rebuilding a program year in and year out, is to get those young guys involved, and they want to be like these high school guys. They want to be in those jerseys scoring touchdowns, and when you have a couple of wins, it just sort of lifts everybody up in the community. That the band, the cheerleaders, the parents, everybody has that good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a cliche, but all cliches are cliches because they're true. Nothing succeeds like success, and when you get a couple of wins, you get kids, get a little bounce in their step. They get to practice. The school gets excited. I mean, if you're a fan of, Pleasantville football, you're 2-1. You've got 2 wins, and you got an undefeated Holy Spirit. It's a team that's from right up the road going into Pleasantville for what should be, it's an exciting game. It's more than a game. It could be a little bit of an event. And when's the last time Pleasantville's been involved in a game like that? So it kind of gives teams a chance to get some wins. And football's tough because I always say, in basketball, you can lose by 20 points. You can get out of bed the next morning, no problem. In football, you might lose by 4 touchdowns, and you might struggle to get out of bed the next morning, or you might walk with a little limp on Monday in school. So, for a chance for Pleasantville to sort of get its footing and play against teams with similar enrollment programs at similar stages of development allows you to take that next step forward.
And we sort of saw that as well with teams like Lower Cape May, Ocean City getting their first wins. I think the real theme of this weekend was teams being able to go on the road and pick up big wins. We saw that with Holy Spirit. We saw that with St. Joe down in Pennsville. They really had to grind one out against the Eagles down there. And also Hamilton, it's always a tough place to play at Bridgeton to go in there and pick up a win. The 3 overtimes it took them, and what an exciting game that sounded like that one was. And you kind of wish you were at that game, as a sports reporter.
Yeah, well, you got to give Hamilton a lot of credit. Quarterback Malachi Winters out for the season, but yet they still are able to go up to a Bridgeton team. Marquise Bell, one of the state's top recruits, has a tremendous game, but yet Hamilton's able to come out 3 overtimes, a 30-22 win. That's kind of, although I wasn't there, I kind of look at that game as that's a program win, a tradition win for Hamilton. They're just kind of used to winning football games like that, and they're able to go up there to Bridgeton. And Hamilton, Jim Rasso, Blue Devils coach, and his staff just doing a tremendous job. They lose Malachi Winters to the quarterback to that shoulder injury. And yet Hamilton is 3-1, and so far, hasn't missed a beat. So the Blue Devils have been able to piece it together. And you mentioned teams winning last night. I think you can't forget about. You mentioned Ocean City, but you can't forget about Absegami. Beating Eastern 22-3. Absegami even its record at 2-2, and now you look ahead to next week, and I believe you've got Absegami and Ocean City playing together. Absegami at 2-2, I think Ocean City at 1-2, and that's a playoff game right there. A game where if Absegami wins that game, they can boost themselves towards the playoff spot, and Ocean City the same thing. You're back to 500. So a lot of teams, like you said last night, in the Cape Atlantic League took big steps by winning interdivision games against teams from the other side of the state.
Talking with Mike McGarry of the Press of Atlantic City. Mike, want to talk some other sports real quick. Cross country, they got the Shore Coaches Invitational. Tell us a little bit about that event. It's sort of, I guess, the first real big event at Homedale Park, which is the site of the Meet of Champions. So a lot of these cross country runners want to really get their feet going on that course and really understand how it works. And it's not an easy course to run, and if you don't have much experience on it, it can really take a toll on you.
Right, absolutely. Homedale is the site of the state group championships and the Meet of Championships. Great park up here in Monmouth County. And so, those races happen about mid-November. So this gives you the Shore Conference meet, gives runners a chance to sort of test themselves against other runners in the state on the Homedale course. You get engaged here the first week in October. You get to see, what your time is. You can compare it to other runners in other groups. And like you said, Homedale is just a great course. I would say if anybody's a fan of high school sports, to really get up there and watch one of this, attend the state cross-country championship or the Meet of Champions. I think it's really one of the great events in high school sports. And Homedale is a course where the best in the state have run for 30 years, so it's got that sort of historic legacy. It's got that sort of, that Fenway Park sort of feel to it. That Rose Bowl sort of feel to it. That's what it means to New Jersey cross-country. And so runners from our area and from all over the state go up there and sort of, test the legs, and you sort of get the lay of the land. Okay, who's where? What do I have to do to improve? So that'll be a big day up at Homedale today for the state's cross country runners.
Yeah, you mentioned the state group championships and the Meet of Champions. It really is a cool event. It's kind of a carnival type atmosphere. You get all these teams going up there. They're putting their tents up. The kids get to mingle with each other. They get to meet kids from other schools. You don't really see that too much in other sports.
No, and it's always been that way. Cross country runners are always friends with each other, even from other states. They see themselves at meets and that. And then plus, I think it has a lot to do with, they all run outdoor track in the spring, and those Saturday relay meets last for about 7 hours, and the races are only a couple of minutes long. So it leaves a lot of time for socializing, in between. So, there's great camaraderie between the sport. And I think it's also one of those reasons why not only are you competing against your fellow runner, but you're also competing against yourself. You're running against the clock, trying to run your personal best time. So, even if you lose a race or finish, don't win a race, you can still run faster than you've ever been done before and come away, feeling good about yourself. So, obviously, Alyssa Aldridge leads Mainland up there. She's the defending MOC winner. It'll be interesting to see, kind of what time she posts on the course today. And Daniel Doe of Absegami kind of established himself so far as, one of the top serial boys runners. I'm sure he'll be up there too. And, it's a great day up there. JV races, freshman races, I believe, and of course 5 or 6 varsity races based on enrollment. So it really gives you an early indication of, how the state cross country scene, or what the status of the state cross country scene is.
Talk with Mike McGarry of the Press of Atlantic City. Mike, before we let you go, I want to talk briefly about field hockey. Ocean City taking on Oak Knoll at home tonight. What does that say about their program to have a team from North Jersey willing to drive a couple hours down the Parkway to come visit their stadium and play them? I think that says a lot about where this Ocean City program is in terms of being one of the dominant programs at the state level. Well,
I think it says to me Ocean City obviously has been a perennial power for years in field hockey, and they kind of, the last couple of years, I think they've gotten to that state final game, but they haven't been able to get over the hump in that state championship game. And I think this year, they always have a tradition of playing, some of the area's top powers. I believe they played Eastern going back a couple of years when Shawnee was really good. Ocean City would play Shawnee in field hockey. So they've got an Oak Knoll team that's, a traditional power. They've kind of, a couple times St. Joe has gotten to that state final. Oak Knoll has kind of been their nemesis when they've gotten to that state final. So then get Oak Knoll coming down. It's just a great early season matchup, and it's a game that, a lot of times like these basketball showcase games, it's that you see the big basketball teams play. It's not going to hurt you, win or lose. It's going to make you better and get you prepared for the state tournament.
It probably doesn't hurt that the Oak Knoll players can grab some boardwalk pizza on their way out of town.
Maybe some of that Johnson's corn or stuff like that, and everything else. So I wish the weather was a little bit better for them today. But anytime you can get a cruise past the Ocean City boardwalk, it's a good day.
You got it. Good stuff, Mike. Appreciate it as always. We'll catch up with you next week. Thanks, bud.
All right, anytime, Sully. Thanks a lot.
That was Mike McGarry, Press of Atlantic City.